apart from this classification, we have one more type of classification, and that one is based on the chemical formula or chemical combination of the resulting salt. So when they are classified on the basis of chemical composition or formula, we have normal salt, acidic salt, basic salt, double salt, and complex salt. So NaCl, KCl, they are normal salt in that classification as well, whereas NaHSO4 is an example of acidic salt. And why this salt is an acidic salt? The answer lies in the chemical composition itself or the chemical formula itself. If you notice, you will see one replaceable hydrogen ion in the compound. Okay, so this hydrogen can be replaced or can be donated, and it is the character or property of acids to lose hydrogen ion, and since it contains one hydrogen ion, it can replace it anytime. So this is an example of acidic salt. Similar to acidic salt, we also have basic salts based on the chemical formula, such as CaOHCl. As you can see in the chemical formula, we have one OH ion, that means one replaceable OH ion, and like base, this OH can also be replaced whenever needed. So this is a basic salt. Then we have double salt. Double salt, as the name suggests, it is composed of two different kind of salt, and double salt is formed by mixing two different kind of salts in some fixed proportion. One very common example of double salt is, I think majority of you have seen or know about this compound. This is Fitkari. Okay, Fitkari. It is very common to have this in the barber shop. After shaving, it is used as an aftershaver, and moreover, this is also used to clean muddy water. Okay, when there was no plumbing, there was no water storage tank, people used to drink from wells, and the wells are also not pakka walls. Those are like simple walls, simple wells. So with no concrete boundary or with no concrete guarding. So those wells, they tend to get muddy. Okay, so to clean those muddy water, to settle down the muddy water, Fitkari is used, and the chemical name for Fitkari is potash alum. It is called potash alum, POTASHALUM, potash alum. Apart from potash alum, we also have more salt, and more salt is also an example of double salt. Let me write down the chemical formula of double salt so that it becomes easier for you to distinguish. So I am rubbing this one. If you have not written, then write this, the classification based on pH. Okay, so let me write down the chemical formula for potash alum, which is a double salt, and this is K2SO4, then Al2SO4 whole 3, and then we have 24 H2O. Okay, so we have K2SO4, then Al2SO4 whole 3, then 24H2O. This is the chemical formula or chemical symbol for potash alum, also known as Fitkari. So as you can see here, we have two different kind of salts. We have K2SO4, potassium sulfate, and then we have Al2SO4 whole 3, aluminium sulfate. So two different kind of salts are present in the same structure. That is why it is called double salt. And at the end we have something called complex salt. And if you need to know more about that classification, you can go through different reference books. It is very nicely explained there. Okay, so I will stop the classification here. Now we will move to some very important chemical compounds, some very important chemical salts which are obtained from the common salt. Common salt, as you all know, NaCl, which is readily available in the sea water or ocean water. So while obtaining those important chemical compounds or salts, NaCl or the common salt is used as a raw material. Okay, so the salts that we will be discussing are baking soda, then bleaching powder, washing soda, then plaster of Paris, etc. So from this chart we can have an idea what are the different uses of NaCl as a raw material. So NaCl is also known as common salt, and this is a raw material which is used for production of a number of different substances. Let's start with caustic soda. Number one, caustic soda. That is the common name for sodium hydroxide. The symbol is NaOH. Then when NaCl is electrolyzed, it gives us chlorine gas, and along with chlorine gas it also produces hydrogen gas, and this chlorine gas is further used to produce bleaching powder. Okay? So bleaching powder is a very common household name which is used for cleaning algae and fungus, etc., and it is also used for cleaning water. So that bleaching powder, in order to produce that bleaching powder, chlorine is used, chlorine gas is used. Similarly, hydrogen gas is also used for different other industrial purposes. Then let's come to washing soda. Washing soda and baking soda, these are also product of common salt. Some chemical reactions are involved, a number of chemical processes are there, and after completing those chemical process, NaCl is converted into baking soda, and from baking soda it is converted into washing soda. So as I told you, this particular compound NaCl is very useful as a raw material, and it is involved in a number of chemical reactions. So one by one we will take a look how these different products are formed. So 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5 useful products. And of course we also have one more salt, which is plaster of Paris, but plaster of Paris is not obtained from NaCl. Plaster of Paris is obtained from a different source. We will talk about it as well. The first compound in our list is caustic soda, also known as sodium hydroxide, and the chemical formula is NaOH. Okay, so let's take a look at the way how it is produced. Sodium hydroxide or caustic soda is prepared on large scale by passing electric current through a concentrated solution of NaCl, which is called brine. That means in this process electricity is used, and the process is called electrolysis. So what we need is a very concentrated solution of NaCl. That means very much thick solution of NaCl. Higher concentration means more number of or more amount of NaCl in small volume. Suppose you have a glass of water and in 1 glass of water, in that 1 glass of water you have added 1 tablespoon of NaCl. So if I ask you the concentration, it is very less. But if you dissolve, if you try to dissolve 1 kg of salt in this small volume of water, then the concentration is very high, and that high concentration of NaCl solution is what we need, and that highly concentrated solution of NaCl is called brine. That is called brine. So we need a solution like this, brine, and that brine will be subjected to electrolysis. So electrolysis is a complex process, and at this level I don't think it will be great to explain the process. So later on, when needed, you will be taught what is electrolysis. But as of now, you just need to know that electrolysis is a process which involves electricity, and there you will have 2 poles called cathodes and anodes. Okay, cathodes and anodes, and one of the pole will be positively charged and one of the pole will be negatively charged. The negative pole is called cathode and the positive pole is called anode. Okay, so what happens is we take a very concentrated solution of NaCl, and as I told you, NaCl when it is dissolved in water, it breaks into Na plus and Cl minus. So in this solution we have both the ions, Na plus as well and Cl minus as well, and they are subjected to electrolysis. And this Na plus, being positive in nature, that means deficient in electron, it will look for the place where it can get electron, and there we have the cathode is the negative pole. Negative pole means there it has plenty of electron. So this positive Na plus, that is sodium, will slowly move towards the cathode. It will move there and it will get electron from the cathode, from the pole, and it will dissociate, or it will reduce itself as the free metal. So this Na plus will move towards cathode, accept electron, and it will be converted into sodium metal, and that sodium will be deposited around the cathode. Okay. However, the situation is different for chlorine. Chlorine is negative, and this chlorine needs to release its extra electron so that it can convert into chlorine gas. So this chlorine will look for a pole which is deficient in electron, and this therefore this chlorine will move towards the anode, and the anode is designed in such a way that the chlorines can be converted into chlorine gas. So what will happen on the anode side? On the anode side, this chlorine negative will go. Okay, it will release the electron and it will convert into chlorine gas. Okay, it will convert into chlorine gas. So to make it equal, we will use 2 electrons and 2 on this side. Okay, so this is how it is converted, and we get chlorine gas. This is called electrolysis, and if I have to write down the reaction for you, then the reaction will be like the following: NaCl plus H2O. H2O is because we have made a brine solution. Brine solution, that means extra amount of NaCl dissolved in small amount of water. So we have written water over here, and this will give us NaOH plus Cl2 plus H2. Okay, I think the reaction is not balanced, so in order to make it balanced, what we have to add. We will use 2 here. Now I think chlorine is balanced and sodium is not balanced, so sodium here as well. Sodium is also balanced. Now how many hydrogen do we have here? 2 and 2, 4. There we have only 2, so this 2, and yes, everything is balanced now. And the top of the arrow I will write electrolysis. At the top of the arrow I will write electrolysis. So this is how the reaction looks like, and this process is also called, this process is also known as, this is very important, and that is why I will suggest you to make star mark around this. This process is also called chlor-alkali process. Chlor-alkali process. Why it is called chlor-alkali? Chlor is for chlorine and alkali is for the base. Since the end product of the reaction is chlorine and alkali, that is why it is called chlor-alkali process. Okay, so note it down. And there's one more thing, you might be wondering from where this H2 came. This H2 actually came from the cathode side. Remember, so in the cathode side, Na plus was deposited. That means Na will take electron at cathode and it will convert into sodium. Okay, it was happening at the cathode side. So along with this particular reaction, there was one more reaction happening, and that was for hydrogen. You know that this is how water looks like now, H plus and OH minus. So during electrolysis, the H plus of water, it moves toward the cathode, it will take up electron, and H plus will be converted into H2. So this Cl2, it comes from the anode, and this H2, it comes from the cathode. Okay, so after this you have to write down a few uses of NaOH. So I will not write down the uses of NaOH in the board, but I will rather dictate you the uses. You just note it down. So the first use of sodium hydroxide is in the manufacturing of soap, detergent, paper, and a large number of chemicals. So sodium hydroxide has a very huge number of use in the industrial field. Second thing is it is used in the cotton industry. Then in third case, the use is in the refining of petroleum and vegetable oil, and then in the preparation of soda lime, and as a laboratory agent. And then as far as the uses of chlorine is concerned, chlorine is used for sterilizing drinking water, then manufacturing of some important industrial equipments and some industrial substances like PVC, polyvinyl chloride, then chlorofluorocarbon, chloroform, etc. Then one more uses, it is also used for the preparation of bleaching powder, as I told you. And then hydrogen also have a number of uses. It is used as a rocket fuel, then manufacturing of hydrochloric acid, then hydrogenation of edible oil such as groundnut oil, and yes, in the production of water gas, then production of substances like ammonia. So those are the fields where H2 or hydrogen is used. And the uses of sodium hydroxide, which I have just mentioned, you have to note it down in your copies. Okay, so now we will move to the next important compound. The next important compound is bleaching powder, and I already told you the purpose of bleaching powder. Bleaching powder is mainly used for cleaning. It is used for cleaning purposes, cleaning water or cleaning algae. It is the main purpose. Now let's come to how bleaching powder is produced. So bleaching powder is produced by reacting chlorine gas over dry slag lime. It is represented as CaOCl2. So if you remember, then while discussing the first compound, that means NaOH, there I told you that along with sodium hydroxide, chlorine and hydrogen gas is also produced. That chlorine gas is used here. So that chlorine gas is subjected to reaction on dry slag lime. Slag lime means CaOH2. So what will happen is chlorine gas will react on CaOH whole 2. Okay, and this will give us CaOCl2 plus H2. Okay, and this is bleaching powder, CaOCl2. Although we write CaOCl2 like this, but the actual structure of like this. This is how it looks like. That means what happened? We had Ca, correct, and we passed over chlorine gas. So this chlorine gas will replace this OH with one Cl and this H with another Cl. So from here we have this OH gone, and from here this we have the H gone. So this H and OH will combine with each other to give H2O, which is this one. Okay, so here we need two reactants, which are chlorine gas and slag lime. The uses of bleaching powder is very nicely mentioned in the textbook itself, so I am not going to waste any time on the uses of bleaching powder. I will quickly move on to the next compound. The next important compound is baking soda, also known as sodium bicarbonate, having chemical formula NaHCO3. Now some of you may have confusion between baking soda and baking powder. Okay, so baking soda is actually not baking powder. Baking soda is just one of the components of baking powder. Okay, so baking powder is not exactly baking soda, but baking soda is a component of baking powder. Okay, so along with baking soda, some other components are also used, such as very light acid called tartaric acid, and that tartaric acid along with baking soda gives us baking powder. Okay, so baking soda is not exactly baking powder. This is the process involved in the preparation of baking soda. So baking soda is produced by reacting ammonia and carbon dioxide with brine solution. It involves the following reaction, and the reaction is this one. We have sodium chloride in water, which is essentially brine solution, and through this brine solution we have to pass ammonia and carbon dioxide gas. And when ammonia and carbon dioxide both are passed through this brine solution, sodium bicarbonate and ammonium chloride are formed, and this is baking soda. This baking soda is a component of baking powder. I have seen questions asked like the uses of baking soda. So obviously the first one is baking soda is a component of baking powder, so it is used in cooking to make the cake or paratha fluffy. That is also one of the use. Then second use of baking soda is it is used as an antacid. you know that when we have some digestion issues, when we have gastric issues, we need to take some substances which neutralizes the effect of the acid. So baking soda is also used as an antacid because it has some basic character. Okay, so being an alkaline, basic soda is also used as an ingredient of the antacid. And one more use is it is used in soda acid fire extinguishers. So there are 3 uses given in the textbook itself. You just go through the uses and try to understand. And let me show you one reaction, actually how this substance called baking soda is used in the cooking process and how it makes the cake fluffy. So it involves a reaction, and the reaction is very simple, quite simple. So this is the major component of baking powder, correct? This is baking soda, a major component of baking powder. So what happens when we heat this substance? We have baking soda, NaHCO3, and when this is subjected to heating, what happens during the process of cooking? We supply heat, obviously, to make the substance cooked. Okay, so we supply heat. When we supply heat, this sodium bicarbonate breaks down into Na2CO3, sodium carbonate. So sodium bicarbonate is converted into sodium carbonate, and along with sodium carbonate, H2O and carbon dioxide is also produced. Okay, so now this carbon dioxide plays a very important role to make the substances fluffy. So this carbon dioxide is a gas, and being a gas, it will leave the surface. So while leaving the surface, it rises from the surface of the food product, be it the cake or the paratha, and while leaving the gas, it will make some small holes or small pores inside the food substance while escaping, and because of those small holes or pores, the substance becomes fluffy. Okay, so this is how this substance baking soda is used. The uses are already explained, so I will not waste much time and directly move on to the next important substance, which is washing soda. Okay, Na2CO3 dot 10H2O. So washing soda is nothing but the hydrated form or the crystalline form of sodium carbonate. In the preparation process of washing soda, we can actually skip the first 2 parts, which was already discussed while discussing baking soda. Okay, so if you remember, in baking soda we had reaction like this. Okay, we had a reaction like this: NaCl, then NH3 plus CO2 plus H2O, which gave us NaHCO3 plus NH4Cl, correct? So similar to baking soda, washing soda also involves this. It also involves the first step. That means the first step is compulsory for both washing soda and baking soda. The next step in the production of washing soda is to heat this compound, which was itself baking soda. Okay, so baking soda is, we can say, a component or a raw material for production of washing soda. So this baking soda will now be subjected to heating. Heat will be supplied and this will convert into Na2CO3 H2O plus CO2. This is the second step. And in the third step, it will be subjected to recrystallization. Okay, it will be subjected to recrystallization. That means, see, this Na2CO3 which is formed, it is anhydrous. That means there is no water molecule present. This is totally dry. So what we will do is to take this dry Na2CO3. We will mix this dry Na2CO3 with lot of water. We will stir it, we will dissolve it with a lot of water, and then we will let it dry. Okay, and we will let it dry. We will mix it, we will dissolve it, then we will heat it, and then we will let it cool. Okay, we will let it cool. After cooling, this Na2CO3 which was initially dry will be now crystallized in nature. So this is what we have, Na2CO3.10H2O, and this is the substance called washing soda. Okay, so the choice is yours. Either you can start from this step directly, or if you wish, you can start from the beginning. Okay, so if you wish to start from the second step, then you should write that the baking soda will be subjected to heating, then this and this are produced, and then recrystallizing this, we will get this. Like this you can also write, or otherwise you can start from the beginning. Beginning means you will write the first step, then the second step, then the third step, one by one. So it is up to you, but while writing the process, while describing the process, I will start from the beginning. Okay, so see here. Okay, so listen, the video is getting very long, so I will stop the video here, and the discussion based on this washing soda will be done in a separate video.